Welcome to Permission to Shift, the show that helps you remove limits, transform fears, and get into a life you're excited to live. Today's guest is Kristen Helmstetter. I first heard about her on a blog called Happy Sexy Millionaire, and I knew I had to reach out. Kristen is the author of a book called Coffee Self-Talk, a fascinating read about why what we say, even when our mouths are closed, really and truly matters. Coffee Self-Talk recently made it onto the UK's Sunday Times top 10 bestseller list for nonfiction, and it makes sense. The sheer simplicity of her ideas, combined with strong neuroscientific underpinnings to support them, means her methods actually work. If you've been feeling stuck in your own head, today's interview may be just the refresh you need. So good to have you here. It's so good to see you again. So for those of you who are just joining, that you haven't been following the Permission to Shift Summit series, Kristen is one of my favorite human beings, and we've worked together before. And she is the author of this incredible piece of work that I love and I use every single day, and it's called Coffee Self-Talk. Kristen, would you be able to really quickly introduce our audience into your original, where this came from, how you got there?
Yes, absolutely. So, Coffee Self-Talk, this book I wrote just to share with the world something that I was doing, a little ritual that I did every morning to kind of take my life next level, to add sparkle and excitement to it. On paper, my life was fine, but like I didn't wake up with any real purpose or drive, or I was an optimistic person, but I was kind of like sadly optimistic. It sounds like a strange thing, but my cup was half full all the time, but yet there was just something kind of cloudy hanging over me, some mornings when I woke up. And I talked my husband into selling it all and traveling the world, because that's what you do. You distract yourself, right? I was searching for something, and we ended up in Italy a couple years later, and it was about a year and a half later. And I'm drinking espresso in these fabulous ancient villages, and there's the best pizza in the world, and everything seems so magical, but yet I still didn't sparkle. I was like, okay, all I did was distract myself. So I know enough about self-development and personal development to know that you have to change your behavior if you want to change what's going on in your life. So I thought, okay, so one morning I wake up and I've got my coffee, and I'm like, I normally drink my coffee and get my, yes, coffee. I normally drink my coffee and I scroll Instagram and I get on email, and none of that is uplifting to me. It was kind of like, I don't know, punching the clock, kind of depressed, whatever. And I thought, okay, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to stop that behavior. And I took my phone and I put it in airplane mode, and I opened up the notes application, and I started writing affirmations, positive self-talk affirmations to myself. And it gave me my first spark. And it always makes me want to cry when I tell the story, because I was like, holy crap.
Holy shrap.
Wow. Yeah, holy crap. I was like, wow, okay, there's something here. And so I was doing it for a couple of weeks. My husband works through the night and he sleeps late. My daughter sleeps late. They're like night owls. So I had my mornings to myself, and I'm doing it. And every day I was like setting myself up for success with this little ritual with my cup of coffee. And I said to my husband, I said, okay, I do this thing. I call it Coffee Self-Talk. And I was kind of blushing when I said it. And he was like, oh my God, that's a book. You got to write that book. And I was like, okay, I can do that. So I wrote the book, and the book basically, it's in two parts. And part one is just telling you how amazing it is for your life to have amazing self-talk, how it boosts your self-esteem, how it helps you attract your dreams and manifest, and just helps you live this magical feeling life. It just feels so elevated. And then part two of the book is all these scripts. So I call them scripts that I do every morning when I read my coffee. And I have scripts for everything. I have scripts for making money. I've got scripts for health and longevity. And I've got scripts for being a great parent. And I've got a script for my daughter in there. And I wrote down all the scripts, and they're flowery and magical sounding, and they catch your attention. And so for people who want to start out and they don't know what to say, they've got scripts in the back. So that's Coffee Self-Talk in a nutshell. It's just this 5-minute morning routine that sets you up for success.
I love what you were saying about, and I love the energy. Love to point everyone right now to your energy and how this kind of daily affirmation actually sets the tone for us to embrace a new vibration. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. So when you start to say things, even if, and here's an important point, even if you don't believe them at first, because it's really hard for some people, like my mom, she does not have good self-talk. And I got her doing it. And I said, do it in front of the mirror. I know it's going to be weird. It's going to feel weird. And a lot of times people break down and cry because they're just not nice to themselves. And just to sit there and look at yourself in the mirror and just be like, hi, like, that's it. Just say hi. It's like you acknowledge yourself. And so with a simple phrase like, I am kind, I am generous, some real easy, low hanging fruit. I am nice, right? And then you build upon it and you say things like, I am worthy. Because we all are worthy. We're all so worthy of living the most incredible lives, no matter what's going on around us, no matter whether there's a pandemic or a bankruptcy or an illness, we still are worthy of living an amazing life. And so when you start to say these words, they start to fire and wire in your brain over time. And the crazy thing is you start to believe it. It's like, you're like, whoa. Okay, I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am great. So you start to feel magical. You start to notice more magical things in your life because you've changed your focus. So your self-esteem starts to improve. And when you start to say things about your life that you want, that are beautiful and amazing and fun and courageous, all those kinds of things, you start to look for them in your life. And in fact, they start to appear like little shimmering things, right? So like your life is this landscape that you're looking at on this horizon. And whatever your focus is, shimmers, okay? So if your focus is crap's going to shimmer.
You're going to see the crap.
It will, yes, exactly. So it's really that simple. It will start, the things that you focus on will start to shimmer. So when you start to think about the goals you want to go after, the things you want to accomplish, or you just want to be happier, you'll start to see happier things. So that's why it works. It fires and wires in your brain. Our brains are neuroplastic, they change, and you will start to look for those things and you'll start to see them, and it will dim all the other stuff. It happens. And if you don't believe it in the beginning, show up every day and do it anyway. I promise you it'll happen.
Well, and there's a reason that all of the neuroscience that's out there now and all of the new age and all of the self-development says, be careful, be very conscious of what you're thinking about, because what you think about, you see, and what you see, you manifest.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's there. And there's actual neuroscience to this, which is something that I really love because I'm an analyzer. I like my data. I just love my data. It makes me feel so good. And I read both your books. So I know you're a data girl too, and you like your spreadsheets and all that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the neuroscience, because there's some people out there who are saying, no, I can't just say this and it'll work. No, you really can.
Yeah, it's really simple. I mean, that is how the brain works. You fire, that's the expression, firing and wiring. It's really just getting your head, your mind used to something. So like, how if there was a time in your life where you heard a song over and over, and then if you later hear that song, it transports you back. It's like you can feel the way you were feeling. Like there's a song by Aerosmith that I used to hear when I was skiing, when I was a teenager. And when I hear that song, Janie's Got a Gun, I start to taste cinnamon donuts from the lodge. I mean,
oh my goodness.
Our brains do really weird things like that, but that's what's so cool about it, is you can train your brain. So you fire and wire and you start to get used to this. You just get used to it. It just becomes your norm. It's just like lifting weights in the gym. Your muscles in your bicep, it's like a muscle in your brain. You're doing repetitions. Affirmations become like happiness repetitions, and they help you feel better. The more you do it, the more you show up to do it. But the other thing is, it helps you with manifesting your goals, because it simply comes back to that thing I said. It lets you see the things that you're focused on. So if you're focused on a goal, losing weight, being happier, starting a new business, having a better relationship with your spouse, and you think about it, you're going to start seeing opportunities for it. And that's in the brain too, because there's this little thing in your brain. It's called the Reticular Activating System. I call it the RAS. I imagine it's this little wizard in the back of my brain. And he's got a little clipboard and a pencil, and he writes down notes about what I'm thinking about. And he says, oh, she wants more love in her life. Oh, she wants, he's looking at his notepad. She wants to manifest $1 million. Okay. And then he doesn't care. He does not care. He does not have an opinion on what I think about. He merely takes directions like a drill sergeant, right? And so he makes it happen by helping me focus on those things in my life. They were always there. It feels like magic. It feels like you've manifested it. And to a degree there's this, you put positive energy out, you're going to bring positive energy back in. There's no doubt there's some amazing stuff like that. But for attaining goals and things, that stuff was always there. You just didn't have the lens on to see it because you were focused on something else. So between firing and wiring neurons and between your reticular activating system, this stuff works.
And I love what you just said, that it was always there. You just didn't see it, because when we're in a low vibration and we're looking to see, strife and people disrespecting us and how our money slips through our fingers, we will see examples. We'll make that true. We're truth making machines. So why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I also really love, and I want to take us back to when you were talking about skiing and those cinnamon donuts, because there's a really important tie, which really was one of the things that drew me to your work. I'm not going to lie, because it was coffee self-talk. And I love my morning coffee. And your work is all about tying this to a beautiful ritual that I love, not adding more work.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's one of the reasons when people see a Facebook ad for the book, I get a couple of different responses that rise to the top. There's people who say, oh, you had me at coffee. And then you have people who are like, oh, and they're like, I don't even know what self-talk is, but you had me at coffee. And then other people are like, oh, I love what self-talk is. What is coffee self-talk? And by making it a ritual for something you're already doing, we are mostly all already drinking coffee or water or tea, whatever it is. There's something you do in the morning, and you're typically getting ready in the morning while you drink it, or you're on your phone, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can replace that with positive self-talk. And it's habit stacking. It's taking your coffee habit and stacking another habit on top. So you're not making any extra work for yourself. So it just happened to work really well. People really resonate with this.
Yeah, they do. And one thing and I love this because this coincides with a couple of new things that you've just recently done, which we're going to talk about now. But when I was done the first book, and my husband, you have several, you have for teens, you have for dudes, I believe is the coffee self-talk for dudes. My husband has it, and the coffee self-talk. But at the end, I wanted more. And there is no more. Yes.
Yes, there is. There is more. There is more. I will show you the more. So this is what I call the Coffee Self-Talk Daily Reader #1, because I have a lot of stuff in here I want to get out. So I had to separate it into batches. So this is the first one. And this is little bite-sized magic nuggets of tips and tricks to help you keep living your magical life between your coffee self-talk sessions. So when you do coffee self-talk, it feels really amazing. You've got these affirmations going, you're imagining this great future, you're feeling good. And then you're off to work and you get stuck in traffic and someone cuts you off and you get upset and you're like, oh, the magic of my morning is gone. Or somebody has a complaint about something, or maybe you're hormonal and you just have an off day. There's things that can happen in your world. And the tips in here, it's a daily reader. So it's just like 5 minutes a day, sometimes less. And it's like a daily 1, daily 2, daily 3. And they're all the little tips and tricks that I use to keep my feelings elevated between my sessions of coffee self-talk. Because if you want to manifest your dreams and goals faster to you, you want to put really premium fuel into it to make it really super high energy octane. And that means keeping your energy elevated and as happy as you can be as often as you can be. And it doesn't mean you have to be like that 100% of the time. But if you can be there most of the time, that's going to be really helpful. And so that's what this book does.
What I really loved about that book, and I would love to talk more about too, is this, you make it sound very simple, but there's a lot of consciousness work in that book that you make not feel like work. And a lot of how people address their internal self-talk, right, their internal mindset. It's a mindset shift book, really. And it's the application of all that beautiful work we do in the morning. But how does it apply to life? How does it apply to fear? So talk to me about the ones in there. There's 30 something, are there? 31?
30, I think. Maybe 31. Let's see. No, 30.
30.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are 30 different ones in there. What would you say are your favorite, your top ones?
You want me to choose from my children?
I want you to choose from your children, because I went through there and I was like, ooh, this one, this one, this one. I'm curious to know which ones are yours.
Okay. I've had a lot of fear in my life. It was one of the driving forces of that dark cloud that I talked about. You know, I had all this great stuff going on in my life. I had a healthy family. You know, sure, we had some debt, we had some normal living things, but nothing horrendous. And I still just had so much fear in my life. Silly fears, just crazy fears, but I would let it get the best of me. So there are a few different days in there that deal with having fears and just helping you look at fear a different way. So in one of the instances, I tell you to take your fear and imagine it as like a black cube. And it's like you pull it out of you and you hold your hand out in front of you and you imagine it like it's this black cube and you look at it from outside it. And it just helps you get a little bit more perspective, and you maybe even talk to it. Another day, we invite our fear for tea and we bring it in and we keep ourselves separated from it. It's not that I am fearful. It's that, oh, I'm with fear, right? So kind of this separation, and it helps you process it from a different point of view. And then on another day, we ask it questions like, why am I afraid of this? And we go down this rabbit hole of, I call it the rainbow rabbit hole, of asking questions of these fears or of even these desires you may have, because oftentimes you peel back layers of the onion of something and you get to this root that you realize was no big deal to begin with, or it was unfounded, or it was kind of silly. And so like you mentioned, when you're doing the coffee self-talk in the morning, I mean, the two really go hand in hand, because the coffee self-talk brings you these elevated emotions, and the coffee self-talk daily reader helps you deal with things kind of like digging down inside you to process things. So a few of the days deal with struggles that you might have. One of my favorite is also how to handle what I call OOFF days, you know, OOFF.
I love that title.
It's like, I would have cussed, but I can't cuss as much as I want to. So I just call them OOFF days. And it's just those days where, the coffee self-talk just doesn't seem to be working, but it is in the background always, but you still will have these days. And I wanted to address those dips because I had people emailing me and they were saying, man, I was on a high for like 2 months and then, something happened. And I didn't even want to get out of bed. And I was like, okay, let's address that. Let's talk about different things you can do on those days to just kind of keep yourself going until that magic returns. And it always returns. I promise everybody, it always returns. You just got to show up every day and do it, even when you don't feel like it. So those are some of my favorites. One that does stand out though is taking your name and creating something fun with it. Like I did on my interview invitation with you.
Yeah.
So like when I buy a package, I will put the name for the first name. When I order something, I will put Kristen Magic, and then I'll put like Helmstetter Sparkles or something, you know, and you get your package in the mail and it's got that name on it. And it's just like these, I call them little drips of happiness, little sparkles that just kind of add a little pop to your day. And so it's just kind of this constant reminder. So I do it with email newsletters. I always put names like that. So again, just a little tip that brings a little bit of happiness to your life.
With your disclaimer from the book, not recommended with the IRS, I believe.
Right. Because sometimes I use the word money.
Can you imagine Kristen Magic Dazzle Helmstetter? The IRS guy is like,
right. Kristen Millionaire, Helmstetter Billionaire.
So what do you think is the one thing that you get the most feedback on or the most requests for? Was it, the people who get in touch with you and say, I'm feeling kind of crappy. How do I get through this?
Yeah. So let me think. That's been one that's come up. I get some questions about grief. I get people who are going through grief, they're taking care of elderly parents. And I address grief in a book I have coming out at the end of October, and it's going to be called Pillow Self-Talk. And it's going to kind of be the bookend to the Coffee Self-Talk Day. And it was because people were reaching out to me and saying, how do you handle grief? And I had a little bit to say about it. And I may even write an entire book on it someday, but that's something that's come up. And to those people, I would say that it's obviously you want to process your grief. You never want to bottle it up. You want to totally process it. But I also want you to remember that, and the grief doesn't always have to be death. It could be, grief comes in all different forms, from even losing massive amounts of weight. People can grieve their old selves. I grieved my old self when I stopped being sad, like this person that ran my life a certain way for so long. I depended on her. She, made me a great businesswoman. She allowed me to, get a lot of stuff done. She made me tenacious. And I had to let a lot of that go because it was harming me, because it was causing too much stress in my life. So there's different forms of grief. And just because I don't want to mention it and then not answer it or address it, you are so worthy, whoever's listening to this, of massive amounts of love and patience with yourself. And if somebody has passed away, I believe they are still around. They're not here physically, but I tell you, when my mom dies, I'm gonna be talking to her every day still, and we're always going to have that connection. But if there's one thing that I would say, it's this reminder to really live your life to the fullest, to really let little things go, and always put on your rose-tinted glasses and see the good in things, because it's going to make the life you're living now so much more magical. And yeah, so that's something that I get asked about. And just people having off days and stuff. And I love hearing from people, and they write to me and they ask me questions. And I, as an author, as a person, one of my lines of self-talk is I have an abundance of time, because I used to stress about having all these books I want to write and all these things I want to do. And I want to take time with my daughter, and I want to be a good wife. And I have all these things, I don't have time, and it stressed me out. And I said, well, I'm sure there's an affirmation for that. You know how they're like, there's an affirmation. I'm sure there's a positive affirmation for that. And I simply put in my self-talk that I have an abundance of time. And it is amazing how you start to have more time. And as an author, I wanted to be somebody who made time for people if they reach out to me on social media or if they email me, because I have an abundance of time. Of course I can write back. So I love it when people reach out.
That's beautiful. I just want to take a moment and give you some snaps. Send some love down. Let's go and talk a little bit more about this letting go. That was in your daily habits, and that is huge. And that is one that I get trapped in. I was reading that. I thought, did I write this book? Is this what? Is this me? Except I'm not on the other side of it just yet. Would love to hear your insights on it.
It's a journey. It's a journey. It's kind of a lot of times. Sometimes it's, a lot of times it's sometimes 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, a step back. Right. So first of all, you always got to know it's a journey. And if you have a step back day, that's okay. You're learning. And it's in those step back days that you learn something that you can now teach to someone else to help them take their steps forward. Right. So there's always silver linings to everything. Yeah, I used to just be this perfectionist, this go, go, go. I was like a robot. You wanted something done, I would do it. I was really good at getting the job done. But I didn't have any sparkle when I did it. It was just like wearing a suit, like a warrior, like a robot. And it was not very fun. And so I thought to myself one day, I was like, well, is there something else out there that I can model? Is there some other example out there? And I'm like, Tinkerbell gets shit done. She sprinkles her pixie dust everywhere. She gets the job done. She's happy. She's all light and airy fairy. I want to be like that, getting stuff done. And so it was a process to transform my mindset into more of a Tinkerbell than a robot. And it meant having to let go of things. It meant having to let go of always analyzing things, always over analyzing. I mean, I would go on a walk and I would start running spreadsheets through my mind. And I said to myself, my spreadsheets have got to take a rest because they are stressing me out. I've got to tap into an energy. I really believe that energy is where it's at. The way you feel you're going to attract better things to you with the way you feel. And if I'm stressed out with spreadsheets, that's not helping me. So I need to I need to let that go. And I need to just work on thinking and feeling more positive energy because it feels better. I mean, even if it never attracted anything to me, it feels so much better. So I don't know if I really addressed letting go, but you have to, even if it's visualizing, letting your hands, letting go, not gripping so tight. When you grip so tight, you're tense. And when we're tense, we cannot be creative. Our blood flow in our brain is restricted. So we're going to have the best ideas if we're relaxed and chilled. Woo, this feels so good, right? Just relaxed. And so just always remember, you're going to be better off letting go because the things you're stressed about, you want to either be creative about handling it, or you want to come up with a good idea, or you want to improve your health. All those things require being relaxed. So let that go and just breathe. Let it go. Imagine your hands, right? Let go. I want everybody to remember this.
You pull in the block of stress out, block of fear, block of stress.
Yes. See, for me, the mind works in pictures. And so it really helps to have something not only visual, but something that is really wacky, really out there sometimes. When in my affirmations in Coffee Self-Talk, I get very flowery and, scarlet magic carpet ride flowing through the stars and all that, because those pictures, they leave a stronger impression in my brain and they create more feeling in me. And you always want to connect the thoughts you think and the things you feel to attract and manifest your dreams.
Yeah. I wonder too, if a little bit of the stress and the holding on and the need for control is really just living to the shoulds instead of to who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to I love it. Let the shoulds go.
And Coffee Self-Talk, especially the power in your self-talk and your affirmations, and you have an audio too, I know, because I downloaded that. But the real power is if you go in and actually do the work, which is fun. It's not work. If you label it as work, I should probably take that back. Don't label it as work. But no, if you go in and spend the time, I'm a glittering magical fairy and everything good is attracted to me is a much more fun affirmation. If it's yours, it's yours.
Yep.
So
we're storytellers, and we've been storytelling from the dawn of time. And so our brains resonate with that. And when you can turn some of your affirmations, and not all of them, I still have short, punchy affirmations like I am generous, I am kind, I am funny. Am I all these things right now? Well, I'm generous and kind. I don't know if I'm really funny, but I'm working on it, right?
Because
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say I'm funny, and then I'm going to start to see funny things, and I'm going to start to be funnier. So I have, short and punchy affirmations, and I've got long and flowery ones that kind of tell a story about the person that I want to be. And it feels so good.
I wonder if this is a way for people to get back to authenticity.
Oh, yeah, so crazy you say that word. I had that word in my head on my walk this morning. Authenticity. Oh my God. And it was in relation to this interview. Wow.
That's synchronicity also in your book.
Yes.
But seriously though, because if we're really thinking about it, and I'm sitting with my coffee and I want to write things that make me feel good, they have to be authentic or they don't make me feel good. And leaning into that is possibly the easiest path I've ever thought about to see what's really authentically me and what's not. I can just feel those energetics.
Yeah. But some people, they still have trouble. They, through old wiring in their brain, through trauma, through not ever feeling worthy, for them to, it's not authentic for some people at first. It's like, it's trying to get out though. but it doesn't feel authentic to everybody at first. And so that's why I always say, just show up and do it. Make it real simple at first, and that'll make it easier. 3 words: I am kind. I'm sure you think of yourself as kind, right? And that just gets the ball rolling. And then, like you said, your intuition starts to speak and your authenticity comes out, and then, wow, look out.
So the first step maybe is that relationship, that intimacy. You were talking earlier about looking in the mirror and why people have troubles with that. And I notice even in my coaching, people have a massive amount of difficulty with intimacy with themselves. Forget with other people. Yep. But I see me and I love me. Nearly impossible for some people to say.
It's so true. I want to be so intimate with myself that it's like candlelit dinners with myself. I'm my own BFF. I'm the cheerleader. I'm just in this massive love affair with myself, and it's not narcissistic. It's elevated, and it makes me feel better. And I smile more when that happens, which then has an impact on my entire family. They can feel it. Oh my gosh, it was like night and day with my family when I started doing coffee self-talk and just feeling better. I mean, my daughter noticed it, and it just makes me cry when I think of it, because I didn't have that energy before, and I have it now with her, and it changes her. So intimacy with yourself is profound, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And still, I know sometimes it's not easy for people to do that, but that's why I say, when you see yourself in the mirror, you don't even have to have an affirmation. Just say hi. You acknowledge yourself. Start with there. Say hi cutie. Try that. Wink at yourself. That.
Yeah. We are all worthy of acknowledgement.
Yes. And you're valued, and you just valued yourself by recognizing yourself in the mirror. And how many times do you go pee? You go pee a lot. You can do this a lot of times during the day. Just say hi to yourself, and you're going to start that relationship with yourself.
I've never thought of bathroom time as intimacy time, but it totally is.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like fun time all the time with you, really. I'm going to be wandering in the weirdest spaces, and I'll be like, well, I'm thinking of Kristen right now. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Okay, so small steps. Kaizen style. You know the concept of Kaizen, yes?
Yep.
Kaizen style small steps. And I know you very often talk about specific books that you've read that speak to some really powerful concepts. And I cannot remember the actual term. That's what it was, because it was talking about, and you mentioned it before, and I wanted to bring it back, about the tense muscles, and you can't do anything accurately or well when you are tense. That's what it was. And I just shoved it right into the middle of this part of our convo, but that's okay, because it was an important concept.
Because it's authentic.
It's how it comes. Everything is meant the way it's meant to be. But no, it's really important, because if we are so tensed up from our fear and our forced rules and whatever else we're plugging ourselves with, we can't function. And what you're doing actually releases that.
Yeah. You can't solve problems when you're tense. You can't think outside the box. You can't be a creative artist. You can't be a problem solver if you're tense. And if you're tense, it's probably from a problem, and you can't solve that problem if you're tense. So
you look like a magician. What was the little thing you called in the back of your head? The
wizard.
Reticular Activation System. Yeah, the RAS.
The RAS wizard.
So for anybody who wants to get in touch with you, who wants to buy these books, who wants to indulge and really get to know themselves, because that's what this is. This is a deep dive into your own self in a really fun way. How do they reach you? How do they get a hold of your books?
Books are pretty much available everywhere online: Amazon.com, Target, Walmart, Kobo, all of the common platforms. And if they want to email me, Kristen@KristenHelmstetter.com.
Nice. And you have a blog, which is called Happy Sexy Millionaire, which it makes
.me.
.me. It's hilarious. It has your origin story on there, how the start of your journey, and you get really personal in your origin story.
Yeah. I chose to be vulnerable and just let it all out and kind of be an open book. So, yep. It's there.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I feel like people will really, really connect with that. So please, those links will be dropped underneath this video. I've learned on YouTube the stuff goes under. So click on those links, show Kristen some love. Is there any last word? Are there any last words that you would like to leave the audience with? Any message of hope?
Yep, you're worthy. You are.
Oh, thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you so much for your time, Kristen. It is always a delight to talk to you.
I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.